This is Growing Your Firm, the podcast for ambitious accountants and firm owners who want to work smarter, grow faster, and lead better. Hey everybody, welcome to Growing Your Firm podcast. My name is David Cristello. I'm the founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow. This podcast is for any firm owner that wants to elevate their marketing, their sales, their team management, workflow, technology, and so much more. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, Dave Cristello here, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow and host of Growing Your Firm podcast. Today's guest is Michael Rozbruch. He's a returning guest, so you might have heard his name before for longtime listeners. And who is Michael? Well, Michael is the founder of Roz Strategies and a pioneer in the space. Michael offers e-learnings and mentoring services to professionals in the tax resolution industry. With a career spanning decades, Michael grew his practice from his dining room table to a $23 million a year company with national reach. His expertise has been widely recognized. He's passionate about sharing his knowledge to help others navigate the complexities of the IRS and tax resolution. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me on. Great to be here.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the wonderful world of tax resolution and IRS, but oh my gosh, you must be just so busy trying to keep up with the news stories. And we're recording this, it's June 2025, and every other day there's something that seems to pop up, so I'm sure you've been busy.
Yep. There's so many new, every day is a different story with IRS. If you're in the tax business and you're following some of the news, it changes daily. Sometimes it changes by the hour.
Yeah, it creates a lot of great job security. Well, to kind of take a step back, and look, if you're listening, you're like, oh my gosh, David, please move on. Don't just talk about this. So, but let's start at the top. What is tax resolution and why does it matter for firms? Why should it even be on their radar? So let's just define what it is and then why it matters.
Yeah. So what tax resolution is think about somebody who owes the IRS, let's say anywhere from 20, 30, 40,000 to six figures, even some owe seven figures, who can't take their checkbook out, write a check in full and pay off the IRS. So they need help. They need help negotiating either a partial pay installment agreement. They need help in getting some of the penalties removed. They need help with moving forward with their life because, I tell folks and folks tell me that owing the IRS is worse than owing your mother-in-law money. So that also audit representation is part of resolution. Innocent spouse claims are part of resolution. So anything where the taxpayer has an issue with the IRS, they could be a non-filer. Look, the average tax resolution client has 4 to 7 years of unfiled returns because the biggest thing they are procrastinators. So you got to know that going in. And why it matters to firms, because here's why it matters. I guarantee that if you're a firm owner listening to this podcast, you have cases in your database right now. You have $5,000 to $10,000 fee tax resolution cases sitting right under your nose in your current database of current tax clients. And the reason you don't know that they have this problem is because you've never reached out to them, letting them know you have expanded into this practice area. Think about it. You get a new client, okay, to do their taxes. You're doing their current year returns. You don't know what's happened 3, 4, 5 years ago with them. They may come and still have a balance, but you don't know because you're doing their current year tax return. We find that 1 in 17 people have a tax problem or know someone who has a tax problem. So if you reach out to your database, we call it like a stealth referral letter. If you reach out to your database, that person has another 100 people in their circle of influence that probably have a tax problem. So by not spending really any money at all, you can probably gain a few $5,000 to $10,000 cases that are sitting right under your nose.
Interesting. And so it sounds like that's the average price point. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're going to $5,000 to $10,000 per case on average. Is that correct?
Per case, yeah. On the low end, it's $5,000. On the upper end, it could be. We have members who are getting six-figure fees. We call them whale clients. Someone who comes to you that owes $500,000 or seven figures. Trust me, they're expecting to pay big fees to get them out of trouble with the IRS. They're not stupid. They know it's like if you're charged with a misdemeanor or a felony, you're going to hire a good lawyer to get out of that. And you know that when you speak to the lawyer, you know you're going to be paying big money to retain that lawyer. It's the same thing with the IRS. And it's all about positioning. It's how you position yourself, pre-market yourself, pre-position yourself as the expert, not an expert, but the tax resolution expert. Big difference.
Yeah. Well, to kind of pull on that string a little bit, like you said, legal representation, it's kind of assumed that you need it and it's assumed you're going to pay big fees. Is that the case with people that have, these tax challenges, these tax debts? Are they is the market aware enough where they know they're going to have to pay somebody for it? They're going to have to pay them thousands or maybe even tens of thousands of dollars, or do you have to educate clients that this service exists? Like what's the norm here?
Not these days. I mean, most people, especially with the flood of firms, national firms advertising on the radio and late night television, which has been going on, for probably 2 decades now. Most people are informed that they know they're going to have to pay thousands of dollars to hire somebody to get out of trouble with the IRS. A lot of practitioners who these cases fall into their lap. In other words, they have a current client who needs an installment agreement. Most practitioners dread this work, and they dread it for two reasons. They dread it for, number one, they're not familiar with how to resolve the case. So they're spending hours of time online researching stuff. And secondly, they don't know how to charge appropriately for the service. So they end up being frustrated and annoyed and say, I don't want to do this work because of those two reasons. But it's just because I mentioned they don't know how to do the work. Look, there's not 50 resolution options. There's not 30 resolution options. There's just four. There's really four main collection alternatives when it comes to the IRS. So, and what I explain to folks, doing the work is the easy part. Most practitioners don't believe that. Doing the work is the easy part. Getting the client, marketing and selling the case is more difficult.
So why don't people believe? I mean, you articulated a little bit. Why is the fulfillment kind of the easy part? You said there's four collection avenues. What are? I guess maybe people overcomplicate the matter, like you alluded to. Maybe they don't know where to go. Maybe they don't know there's only four. But what are those four?
Well, the four are, number one is 90% of your cases are going to be resolved through an installment agreement. And under the installment agreement headline, there's 3 or 4 programs under installment agreement. One is partial pay installment agreement, one is a streamlined installment agreement, and one is a specialized installment agreement. So those are installment agreements. 90% of your cases are going to be resolved through installment agreements. The second one is offer and compromise. That's the one everybody hears about on the radio. That's, settle your debt for a fraction of what's owed or for pennies on a dollar. It's very paper intrusive, and there are strict requirements to qualify for an offer and compromise. Put it this way, in 2024, in fiscal year 2024, the IRS received 33,000 offers in compromise, which, by the way, is up 11% over 2023. However, the accepted offers dropped precipitously to just 7,800. So of the 33,000 submitted, only 7,800 were accepted, as opposed to there being over 5 million installment agreements being accepted. So we have installment agreements, offer and compromise. The third one is penalty abatement, either first time penalty abatement or reasonable cause penalty abatement. And the last one, I call it currently non-collectible, which is kind of like a financial hardship situation where the IRS doesn't require any monthly payments, although interest and penalties continue to accrue. But so does the 10-year collection statute expiration date clock continue to run. So using CNC as a strategy or a stepping stone to one of the other options I mentioned is a wonderful strategy if you know how to use it.
Got it. And I guess before we get into a little bit of current events and the turmoil of the IRS, okay, so if I'm running a tax practice, I'm getting a little burned out. This sounds pretty interesting. 5 to 10K per case. There's 4 methods. It all sounds easy. I guess when somebody is not in tax resolution, how quickly can they go from zero to first client?
Oh, they can go from zero to the first client in 30 days. Yeah.
And why I mean, obviously this feeds into your program, and by the way, I have no affiliation or kickback or anything like that. I'm just curious whether you work with Michael or yourself or anybody else. Why so quickly?
Well, number one is I mentioned that stealth referral letter to one of the things we have our members do right off the bat, like within the first week, is to send, and I'm talking about physically mail, put a postage stamp on it, old school, because emails don't get open today, as we all know. Okay. Old school letter addressed to the client announcing that you have now expanded your business into IRS representation services. So to the recipient, to the client, it's an announcement. To you, the practitioner, it's a referral letter. So most of our members get 1 or 2 clients just from sending that letter without doing any other paid advertising. And then the other thing we have them do within the first 30 to 60 days is send referral letters to the PTIN list, which is a free resource that you can get right on the IRS's website. So now you're marketing to other professionals, other CPAs, EAs, non-licensed professionals as well. There's 760,000 PTIN holders in the US. And the IRS has them segmented by state and zip code and city. So you can really geographically tie that into your area and start mailing to them. So within 60 days, a lot of our members are getting at least 2 to 3 clients.
And for that cold outreach, I think I understand. It's really clever to kind of, as you're launching a new service, you kind of write it, and like you said, it's a stealth referral because the letter can get out. Your clients know you because they know you, and you're the accounting firm. You're going to open it,
Exactly.
because you're probably not getting a lot of letters from your accountants. So when you do, you're probably thinking, is this good? Is it bad? What's going on? Did I not pay a
Exactly.
bill? When
I
you're
mean, it
reaching out,
amazes.
go
I was
ahead.
just going to. It amazes me that most practitioners don't communicate with their client base. On a,
Yes. Or
it's
just once,
great.
or very reactively. Comically, ironically, and sadly, this is my current relationship with the accounting firm. And so because of that, I probably know they don't listen to the podcast. Ironically enough, but I hear, I reach out to them once a year. We do some light touches. It just feels backwards. So, hey, if you're listening, email me if you're like that. You deserve better. First name at jetpackworkflow.com. So, but for these P10 folks, they're completely cold. And so what's the approach to the cold audience to start to build trust and, I guess, likability that they would even think of you in the first place? Like, how does it change on that front?
Well, number one is what's important is the content of the envelope to the PTIN holder is a lot different than the content
Yeah.
in the envelope to your client base. So we recommend a 100% devoted tax resolution brochure and a business card for tax resolution. But the letter itself, it's a direct response letter. It basically talks about, hey, we know that you have clients that have IRS problems, and we know that it's very disruptive to a lot of CPA, tax, and accounting firms. So, wouldn't it be nice to have someone that that you can refer these clients to? And by the way, I'm not interested in any of the ongoing tax prep or accounting work. Actually, we send the client back to you after we resolve the case. I also remain available to speak to you at no charge for any case you have that you have a question on. So it's a very warm, inviting letter. It's not a sales letter at all. It's basically a letter letting them know that this help exists. By the way, I'm in your backyard, and this is all we do day in and day out. Now, what really helps is because most CPAs will not refer to another CPA firm. That ain't
Yeah.
happening. Okay. So one of the things we teach is to set up a separate entity, or at least a separate DBA, and mark it under a different domain with tax relief or tax resolution in the domain. So you are approaching the CPA or the EA as an IRS problem solver, not just another CPA firm. That's a very important distinction.
And what is like the call to action in this letter? You said it's a direct response letter. Is it, let's hop on a call, let's meet up in person? What do you hope is happening from this?
Both. You can refer your client to me, or we can set up a breakfast, coffee, or lunch to get to know each other. So there's I'd say 2 calls to action in the letter.
Okay. Now, if you're able to kind of get a coffee, lunch, dinner, drink, what have you, you meet, great. Here's Michael. Michael seems really nice. I'll think of Michael next time we have a client with a tax problem. And then months go by. Do you have a
Yep.
concept, or how should the firm owner then, or partner or leader, think about follow-ups with these cold contacts?
Right.
Like you've done some of the hard
Yeah.
work. You got the letter out there. You had a meeting. But then
Yeah.
if you don't continue to nurture it, you're
Right.
not going to get the
Correct.
referral. So what do you recommend to do from that front?
Well, number one is there's not just one letter that goes to that name, to that PTIN holder. There's a series of 3 letters that get mailed over a 90-day period. And once the PTIN holder reaches out, then they go on a mailed newsletter list on a monthly basis. So you're top of mind with them every month. And the newsletter that gets sent out, we have one that's called the Tax Resolution Times, is all about all the criminals going to jail for evading tax, accountants who manufactured deductions, business owners that had employees embezzle from them, other folks who just are dishonest and criminal and going to jail for taking the payroll tax money and buying, Porsches and condos and stuff like that. So every month they're getting something from the professional that's talking about tax resolution.
I love that. Yeah. Get them in the news. So 3 letters over 90, you said over 60, 90 days.
Over 90 days. And once they reach out, then they go on a monthly mail newsletter list. And then
silly technical
after
question. Go
those,
ahead.
after those 3 months, David, we use another list of 1,000 names and send to a new list. So over a 12-month period, you're mailing 12 letters to 4,000 people, because 1,000 every 3 months.
And what's the average, I guess, hit rate for those letters? Are you typically, or your students typically, seeing 3, 4, 5 coffee chats, calls? Like what does that then look like
No,
from a success
I'd
standpoint?
say it's a 0.5% to 2% response that converts into 1 to 2 clients a month. So on an annual basis, you can generate 60,000 at $5,000 a case. You can generate 60,000 to 120,000 just mailing the PTIN list, just doing that.
Okay. I also have to ask, because you have such a marketer's mentality. I can tell in just all the systems you've built out, and you saying words like direct response, which is near and dear to my heart. You mentioned the brochure. What's
Yes.
important about how this brochure is laid out? I guess, typical brochure is corporate talk with photo stock images
No,
and doesn't do much of anything.
no,
So
no,
what's
no,
your
no.
brochure look like?
Well, okay, so the bio section always needs to be rewritten, because people do business with human beings. So what's more important to somebody is your hobbies and interests than your credentials and where you went to school. So we tell folks you need to humanize yourself with a current picture. We're not in high school anymore. Take a picture and take a headshot, a professional headshot. Have the brochures professionally printed so it doesn't look like crap, because first impressions are so, so, so important. So it's
Yep.
a real nice tri-panel, 4-color, tri-folded brochure that talks about nothing but how they can help the client. Very little about them. So everything that we teach is what I call WIIFM. What's in it for them? WIIFT, I guess. What's in it for them? By the way, that a P-TIN letter that talks about a coffee or a lunch or a breakfast, I don't talk about myself at all. I go into that meeting trying to find out what kind of client they want me to refer. It's all about them. Okay. Life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. So you got to approach these meetings as what's in it for them, not for you. So you got to drop the selfishness and all of that. And when you do that, it just comes back to you. That's just what I have found.
So in this brochure, you're saying what's in here? I mean, the bio rewrite I think is very contrarian to most buyers, but is the rest of that brochure like examples of how we help, case studies of how we help?
There's usually 3 testimonials from clients, and then there's 7 to 10 bulleted outcomes of what happens with the person once they're retained and once they retain you. In other words, once they retain you and their case is settled, there's outcomes. So here's the outcome of working with us.
Okay.
So we don't talk about features. We don't talk about features. We talk about benefits and outcomes in the brochure.
So what's an example, if you have one top of mind, that's either outcome or benefit focused on the brochure instead of being feature?
Peace of mind. Generally, you will never have to meet or speak to the IRS once we're retained. That provides immediate relief to the client. One of the biggest things that a IRS tax problem client has is picking up the 800-pound receiver and actually dialing the number to call somebody. That's the biggest hurdle in the world. So you provide immediate relief once you're retained, because now under operation of law, the IRS has to communicate with you, no longer the client. Believe it or not, that's a huge burden off of a troubled taxpayer's shoulder, is having the practitioner, the tax resolution specialist, deal with the IRS so they don't have to. That's one.
Got it. I love that. You mentioned 3 reviews. If you're just getting started, are you pulling reviews from your typical accounting service, tax service,
Yes.
or are you bypassing that altogether?
No. So if you don't have tax resolution reviews, that's okay. What you need to do is include 3 reviews attesting to your great character and your customer service. So you can use those types of reviews from the other part of your practice in your tax resolution brochure. That's fine.
Got it. Final question on the direct mailer is, for something like this 1,000-person, 3 letters over 90 days, and I'll call that a campaign.
Yep.
What's the cost of a single campaign?
A 3-month campaign is probably going to run you with first-class postage. We always recommend first-class postage with a real postage stamp put on the envelope crooked. There's an art and a science to direct mail. I've been a direct mail guy for 20 years. So the other thing, the envelope is so important. It has to be handwritten. So it looks like a letter from grandma.
Yeah.
Number 3 is there's no return on the return address. It does not have your firm name or your name. It just has the street, city, state, and zip code. If you get a letter like that, David, what are you going to do with it?
Opening it. Yeah. Which is the big hurdle, right? You want to be in the A pile, not the B pile. B pile is the trash pile. Yeah.
Exactly. So
who's writing?
Yeah, so it's probably going to cost you about $6,000, $5,500 to $6,000 over a 3-month period, mailing 3,000 envelopes to 1,000 people.
And it sounds like that alone gains a lot of momentum. Have you ever seen or tried or seen success in weaving in phone calls? Hey, Michael, I sent you a letter a couple of weeks ago. Is that also surfacing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if somebody's listening, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying if you're mailing another professional and they get a letter from you and your real nice, professionally produced brochure, and then you call 2 or 3 weeks afterward, they're going to take your call. they're going to want to talk to you.
Yeah. Now, we've kind of just spent, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes dissecting a very important campaign, the content of it, the execution of the way the letters to show up. And I imagine you don't have to, if you're listening, I don't think you have to handwrite all these yourself. There's, I'm sure, services that do it or
Correct.
make it look like they're handwritten.
Correct.
Then you have to maybe do these phone calls. So somebody might be listening and say, "Oh my gosh, Michael, are you turning me into a marketer? Like, I just want to be an accountant." Like, what do you say to the people that are like, "I want it"? Like, this all sounds like it's starting to sound like a lot of work, Michael. Do you ever have resistance like this in your
Oh
world?
yeah, absolutely. But we partner with a firm called Jurassic Marketing that mails out 125,000 pieces a month for our members. So, and he's able to price his services very, very competitively. So you don't even have to touch anything if you don't want to. Now, look, if you don't have the funds, like I didn't have when I first started, I had my 9-year-old daughter lick stamps and envelopes. I did everything myself. So if you don't have the funds, you got to do it yourself. But if you
Yep.
do have the funds, you want to hire an intermediary to do it for you.
But I mean, like, for making the phone calls, like, I mean, I imagine if the a firm owner leader, they're not used to doing that. There's just a lot of resistance towards that concept. Does that surface for you in
Exactly.
your community?
Yeah, yeah, that certainly does. But what I tell folks is if you're the owner of your firm, whether or not you agree or like it, you are the head salesperson and the head marketing guy. If you're in business today, you better embrace marketing. You better embrace selling. Okay. Because if you don't, you'll go broke. I
Yep.
mean, it's as simple as that. Or get somebody on staff who you can delegate to. However, you need to understand there's two things in business you never delegate. One is the checkbook, and the other is your marketing. Unless you have real good checks and balances and internal controls, and you understand everything there is to know that about the marketing that you're handing off, do not hand off marketing unless you understand it complicitly.
But how, somebody, do you have to help them change their mindset almost because they
Yes.
might not be like the pick up the phone and call this stranger to see if you got the letter type of person? I mean, what do they have to change, or what have you seen to be effective ways for people to change their mindset to get them to do the activity to pick up the phone and call these strangers? I mean, we're talking about at least 1,000 phone calls every quarter.
No, 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 no.
Oh,
So you're not gonna make. So the way that we don't teach people to call the pizza list. You
okay.
can, you can, but that $60 to $120,000 I talked about, that's strictly mailing. That's without one phone call.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
That's without a phone call. If you add in phone calls, I'm sure that number will probably go up.
Yes.
The phone calls come in, David, with inbound leads. Someone
I
who
see.
actually reaches out and hasn't scheduled their consultation with you, definitely those should be called back.
How often and how quickly?
Okay, so the person who, first of all, this is a conversation about phones right now. Okay, because most professionals don't answer their phone. And when they do, they answer it incorrectly. The most important piece of equipment, as I mentioned before, is the phone in your office. It's more important than your computer. It's more important than anything you have in your office. If that phone call isn't answered live on the second ring during normal business hours, you're leaving a ton of money on the table. Case in point, we have members who said to us after they got retained, they asked the person, how come you chose me as to represent you? And the woman would say, you know what? I have 4 numbers on my list. You were the only one who answered the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So let that sink in for a minute. I can't tell you how many people, and includes our members, we call them and their voicemail box is full. You might as well be in the sales prevention department. If that phone isn't being answered live during normal business hours, you are in the sales prevention department. If you have an email message that says, hey, we're busy, it's tax season, we only check our email once or twice, you're losing a ton of money on the table. So you need a dedicated person or somebody in the office if you're marketing for resolution. If you're not marketing for resolution, I guess it doesn't matter. But if you're marketing for business, specifically resolution, you need to reverse engineer your operation on how to monetize that marketing.
How, when somebody gets an inbound, so you're saying pick it up, second ring, prioritize the phone. If you're getting somebody that's calling you, I mean, that's a really, really warm lead that you need to triage. Most people might just say, "Hi, this is Jim," or they might just, even worse,
No.
hello. Sometimes I call people and the other end, they just say hello. And I'm like, I almost want to
Yeah.
hang up at that point. I'm like, seriously?
No.
Seriously?
We have a very choreographed phone script that has 5 very important psychologically induced intake questions. So the way the phone is handled right off the bat is very professional, and it qualifies the person. If the person doesn't owe 10 grand, that they're unqualified. If they don't have any unfiled returns and owe under 10 grand, they're not qualified. So this is meant, the intake form is meant to get rid of the looky-loos, the tire kickers, and the people who are unqualified. Because let's face it, a lot of people are shopping for free information. A lot of people want to pick your brain. And I don't want you talking to those people. I want you to talk to qualified people who are able to pay for your services.
So how should they answer the phone? It's ringing. They pick it up on the second. If "Hi, this is David" is not the right way, or "Hi" is not the right way.
Yeah,
What's an example
Hi,
of the script?
This is Michael Rozbruch of Tax Resolution Services. Before I ask you a question or two to get you to the right person, I just want to confirm a few things. Is your phone number X? What is your email? What's your email address? So I have their contact information before I do anything. Okay. And then the first question I ask is, does the IRS or state claim you owe $10,000 or more? So I use the word claim instead of owe because I don't want to pass judgment on them. Okay. Mm-hmm. The second question is how many years of unfiled returns do you think you have? But the third and fourth question are the most important. The third one is, has the IRS or the state levied your bank account yet? YET plants in their mind that if they don't hire you now, this is what's coming down the pike. The fourth question is, has the IRS or state garnished your paycheck yet? So that's just some of the intake questions. And if they answer affirmatively to any of those, look, this is a serious, and the next part of the script says this is a serious legal matter. I want to get you to the right person. So hold on just a minute. I think Joe's available. Boom, transfer the call. That call needs to be handled right then and there. It cannot be rescheduled. A caller on the phone is 10 times more likely to hire you than playing phone tag today. There's way too many distractions today. Now, that's just offline, David. We have a whole separate program and campaign for online.
Yeah, I love that. Any way you can remove the friction. People are busy. They want to know they could trust you, but they also want to just make progress on things. And playing phone tag is not progress.
They called you. They have a problem.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They called you. They have a tax problem. If you don't get retained, you need to look yourself in the mirror.
Well said. To transition a little bit at the macro level, IRS is in the news all the time. They're cutting positions, slashing this, that, and the other thing. Where does that put the tax resolution overall? Is it just pure chaos? Or businesses being flung everywhere? Is it drying up? Is it increasing? I guess, how should people react from a resolution service perspective to everything that's going on or potentially could go on with the IRS?
Well, a couple things. Number one is enforcement has picked up dramatically in the last few months, actually in the last 12 months, and it continues to. Case in point, the IRS just came out with their 2024 data book, which is kind of their report to Congress. And in fiscal year 2024, which ended in September, 15 million people are now in the collection division of the IRS. That's up 3.5 million over 2023. So there's now 15 million people in collections. The non-filer list is up to almost 12 million. And that list grows every year. And the non-filer list is anyone who has more than 2 years of delinquent tax returns. So 12 million and 15, that's 27 million people right now that have a problem with the IRS. Couple that with AI, machine learning technology. The IRS is using AI to automatically now generate LT11 notices and levy notices. So the folks who are marketing and tax resolution have had their best 6 months ever since before the pandemic. So that is just, and if anyone, I'm like a C-SPAN nerd. I watched Scott Bessent, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, testify in front of the Senate Finance Committee on May 6th. And he basically said that the IRS today, and Chuck Rettig, who I had on a webinar 2 months ago, also echoed this. The IRS can do much more today via AI and technology with half the headcount than they could with double the headcount just 3 years ago. That's huge. The IRS has introduced over 20 digital forms in the last 2 years than in the last 20 years. So, and here's the other thing, and this is very important. The IRS has been, for the last 30 years, the IRS has been 5 years away from modernization. So I'm going to repeat that. For the last 30 years, the IRS has been 5 years away from modernization. They have spent $51 billion since 1995 on 137 IT contractors. The IRS has 63 legacy computer systems that don't talk to each other, programmed on COBOL from the 1970s. The Doge boys, Big Balls and his crew, are at the IRS right now coming up with a mega API. Okay, they're getting all these 63 legacy computer systems to actually talk to each other. You're going to see that in 2025. Before 2025 is over, there will be a mega API. You know what that will do? That will speed up enforcement, speed up audits. It will speed up everything. I just see a tremendous amount of opportunity for anyone thinking about getting into resolution or expanding what they're already doing.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, Michael, if our audience wants to reach out, say thank you, learn more, connect with you, attend one of your trainings, what's the best way for them to do so?
Probably the best way is to go to our homepage, which is Roz with a Z, Roz Strategies with an S.com. That's www.roz, R-O-Z, strategies with an S.com.
Brilliant. And we're going to do a full write-up of today's episode. So if you couldn't jot down all the notes, we talked about these direct mailers. We talked about formats for brochures. We talked about follow-up campaigns. We talked about ways to answer the phone. We talked about pricing do's and don'ts. We talked about just the overall opportunity. You can always get the full recap, the links out. We're going to link to Michael's site as well at jetpackworkflow.com/blog. We'll do the full write-up there. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a review. It helps us get the word out. So open up your Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to this podcast. Heck, if it's on YouTube, drop a comment, leave a review, star it, ding it, subscribe to it, whatever the bells and whistles are, just do it. And if Michael said something that really unlocked something for you, maybe it was that, whole rant around the sales prevention business, and you realized, oh my gosh, maybe just some things I'm doing right now are stopping. They're inhibitors to my dreams for my firm. Share it with a fellow firm owner, share it out. If you share it on social, be sure to tag both of us. And Michael, I really appreciate the time today.
No, thank you, David. I appreciate you for inviting me on. Appreciate you. Thank you.